What's going on, everyone? My name's Slender, and if you are vaguely interested in Ashes of Creation and how the game is going to work, I've got a great video for you. So we're going to take a look at guilds, alliances, the guild structure, the benefits to being in a guild. There is so much that they're putting into, as far as guilds and alliances in this game. They are encouraging, being part of big communities. There's going to be sabotage. There's going to be intel gathering and spies, and they're encouraging this stuff and encouraging guild politics. And I mean, there's just so much information. It's going to be crazy, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So one thing though is I don't have really, any in-game footage of these systems and how everything's going to look. I do have a couple screenshots that I'll show, and I just don't have a lot of footage because I haven't actually played the game. I'm waiting for the Alpha 2 test, and I'll have a bunch more, information for you guys when that starts. But for now, I've got a lot of information, so sit back. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and yeah, let's jump right on into it. So I will start with saying that guilds will be a major part of Ashes of Creation. There's going to be a lot of different systems, mechanics, and the way the guilds are going to be structured and the politics. It's very, very in-depth, and I haven't seen a game with this much focus and depth of the guild system itself and alliances. So we're going to start off with the guild size. So as of now, and all this is subject to change, this is the information we currently have, but every single bit of this information can and most likely will change. So the maximum size is currently 300 members, and getting to that capacity is going to require you to actually select that path for guild size. There's going to be guild progression and different skills available to the guild. So you're going to actually be able to select, as you're creating this guild and leveling it up, you're going to be able to select either size or function. So the higher the guild's member cap, the fewer available skill options will be available to that guild. So if you're looking to have, all of the available guild skills, the maximum size would probably be around 30 to 50 members. So in the end, guilds will have to choose between size and effectiveness. And what's really cool, and they're working on balancing all this, but smaller guilds will actually have advantages and abilities that the larger guilds won't be able to have. But of course, the larger guilds are going to have numbers. So a couple of, examples and a few advantages are as follows. So larger guilds can seize, fortresses, but they won't have access to power boosting guild abilities and other guild specific skills. So smaller guilds can do things better than bigger ones, and vice versa. So when it comes to things like castle sieges, they're going to have things that smaller groups will actually have an advantage in. They're, like I said, they're really trying to balance guilds so that the smaller ones will be competitive and relevant. And, it's not just going to be, the large guilds that matter. Smaller guilds are trying to make and put things in place so that smaller guilds will, like I said, have advantages also. And I think this is a great idea because sometimes you just can't get those big guilds. And, in most other games, if you don't have a big guild, you're not going to be able to take territories and things like that. But with this game, smaller guilds will be relevant, and I think that's going to be amazing. Now, again, I don't have very specific details, and it's still pretty early in the development process. But what I picture in my head, and again, I may be completely off base, but what I picture is maybe smaller guilds in like castle sieges and wars, maybe will have, more agility. So maybe movement speed boost and, different things like that. Whereas big, large guilds won't have anything like that available to them. And maybe as a smaller guild, if there's even respawns and stuff like that during wars and sieges, maybe smaller guilds will have a quicker respawn time, and maybe the big guilds will have some kind of permadeath. I don't know. But I like the idea, and I like how they're trying to make it so that, both big and small guilds will be relevant. So before we move on, I'm actually going to read a couple things from, Steve Sheriff himself and some of the developers. So one of the questions that, people had about this game, and as far as the size of guilds, is, what's the minimum guild size to really have a meaningful impact on the realm? And the answer was, this is a tough question to answer. Single individuals can have a large impact on the realm without even having guild support, in the form of mayorships, artisanship, economic opportunities, etc. We're also balancing guilds through guild levels, where guilds must choose between size and effectiveness. Smaller guilds will have an opportunity to get a leg up through abilities that larger guilds can't afford to take. At the end of the day, having clear goals and organizational structure will likely matter more than raw numbers. And something that Steve said himself is, it's important to note that the 300 is the maximum cap that is attained by leveling the guild and selecting the path of size as opposed to the path of guild skills, like the smaller ones. So the larger you choose to allow for members to join your guild, increasing that member cap, the less focused and honed the available skill options will be from a guild level up perspective for guild members. So the way that kind of works is it plays as a balance and counterbalance to larger guilds versus smaller, more honed and focused guilds. So that's from Steve himself. So if you have more objective-based combat that revolves around high mobility and agility, strong focus, organization, I would expect the smaller guild to outperform the larger guild with regards to that. But if you're speaking purely a numbers game and they're meeting on the field, then I would expect the larger guild to perform in that scenario. The balance comes in our play scenarios. Do we offer solely a field-based combat system where you show up with the numbers you have, in which case you lean heavily towards Zergs? Or do you implement designs that feature both components of objective-based combat that involves organizational rule as opposed to just having the field presence? And we intend to offer both. And that's from Steve Sheriff, the creator. So moving on to some of the basics, I'm sure you guys are interested. So this is about membership, guild membership. So like I said before, politics is going to play quite a large part in the game with regards to guilds. Now you're going to be able to make alts, and alts will actually be able to join other guilds, although you can only have one guild per character. The reason I'm mentioning this is because intrigue, espionage, and intel gathering is going to be a legitimate aspect of the game. Like I said, they're really pushing for that kind of stuff. And another quick thing that I really like is, if you have a guild leader that abandons you or just doesn't play anymore, there's going to be safeguards in place where, leadership can be passed down. And a little bonus thing here is you're going to actually be able to, early, before the game's out, reserve servers. So that's going to allow guild members to reserve a character slot on a particular server so you guys can plan on, all being together and not have to worry about, is the server going to get filled up and are we not going to be able to play on this server? So I really like that idea. So this is where things start to get exciting. We're going to talk about guild benefits. What are the actual benefits of having a guild? In most games, it's just an extra chat channel. You get guild chat, or it's easier to get in groups or make groups to run dungeons. I mean, that's always going to be a benefit. But this game is going to have so many more benefits to having a guild. And they are as follows. So one really interesting benefit is gear enhancements. So gear enhancements will be one benefit of being part of an active guild. Now they may be in the form of runes or power stones that could be socketed into your gear and weapons. I think that's going to be really cool and exciting. Normally, guild membership would have nothing to do with your gear and enhancing your gear, but in this game, it will. So passive skills will be another benefit and will be used to augment your weapon usage, armor usage, health regen, passive stats. Some of the passives include attack damage, block chance, cooldown reduction, crit damage, crit rate, defense mitigation, disable chance, like all kinds of stuff. You're going to be able to, use these passive skills just by being part of a guild and unlocking things like this. Again, something I've never really heard of in a game, where being in a guild and having this guild progression is going to unlock stuff like this. I think that's really, really cool. Another benefit to being in a guild is certain quest lines will be available and unlocked by guild progression. So, if you're solo, I'm sure there's going to be quests to do and stuff like that, but being in a guild is really going to open up a lot of possibilities that you wouldn't have otherwise. There's also going to be guild halls that you could take advantage of by being in a guild. And guild halls are basically going to be the focal point or main guild, like home base, if you will. So it's going to offer a host of benefits and customization options. Guild halls will actually, be like the ultimate expression of your guild's power and really a way to flex your guild, There's also going to be guild castles. So first, the castles are going to be occupied by NPCs. And basically, guilds will have a period of time to level up in order to siege these castles. So the attacking guild needs to fight the NPCs, and once they get to the middle of the castle, they'll be able to kill and fight a raid boss in the center. And what's kind of cool is the highest contributing DPS guild, on the raid boss will actually capture the castle. So guild castles can impose a tax on all revenue for the nodes within the region and will be a great source of income for that guild that has it. Part of the tax and resources gathered will be applied to the castle for improvements, and the remainder can actually be used by the guild for whatever they want. And these benefits that the guild castle owners have will just increase the longer that you hold that castle. Now, I don't know if they use this as a metaphor or a literal sense, but what they said is there's going to be levers and dials that are present to both the owners of the castle as well as the elected officials of the nodes that give them the ability to impact and influence the region around them. So I'm pretty sure it's metaphorical for the levers. So the owners are going to be able to levy taxes for defenses. You're also going to be able to activate events and abilities that benefit the node citizens, like maybe like Armor's Inspiration in New World. If you own that town, you can turn on certain buffs, like town buffs. The owners of the castle are also going to be able to unlock additional types of buildings, and you're going to be able to exert control and presence over one of the 5 economic regions. Guilds will only own the castle for 1 month before it can be sieged again. And there's going to be a bunch of other, various guild activities. They're also going to have guild emblems. And another really cool thing about these emblems is, how on some games you have to choose between, preset emblems, or, in recent games they actually give you the option to buy certain emblems. Well, they're like kind of on the fence about it, but lately they're starting to lean more towards the option to actually be able to customize and upload, custom emblems and images. But, you're going to have to follow the rules, make sure they're not, derogatory or sexual or anything like that. But I think that's really, really cool. And there will be penalties and possible, account bans and stuff if you do something stupid. They're also going to have guild tabards. They're going to have guild mounts. Now they said guild coats, but I'm not really sure if they mean like coats of, whatever. I don't know if it's going to be a cosmetic or what, but they said something about guild coats. They're going to have guild barding, which is armor for mounts, and this is really cool. Not only are you going to be able to have armor for your mounts, but the armor, there's going to be different pieces of them, like a saddle. I don't know if you've ever played Red Dead Redemption, but you could saddle your horse and you can have like special stirrups that give you more speed, and different parts of the saddle will actually affect the speed and the overall performance of your horse. So I think it's going to be similar to that. So really, really exciting. And one super, super awesome thing, this is kind of out there, but I love it. They're going crazy with this game. They're like not pulling any punches. The guild leader during castle sieges will be able to grant officers these little mini dragons called wormlings to fly around during the castle siege. So it's going to be really, really cool. And this is an actual picture of what it's going to look like. This is a wormling dragon. Super exciting stuff, guys. So this next topic is probably my favorite thing about the guild system that they're going to have, and that's guild progression. So guilds will have a progression system similar to other MMOs I've played, and your guild's going to be able to, progress through several different ways. One way they can progress is through quests, like certain quests just for guilds, leveling up and developing nodes, different social organization systems, also crafting. So crafting certain items will actually progress your guild, and there's going to be guild events. So when your guild progresses, you're actually going to be granted skill points that the guild can allocate to unlock, aspects of your skill tree, such as passive skills, passive abilities, membership count, size. So this kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier, where, as your guild progresses, you're going to have to choose from one or two different paths, either go for pure numbers and size or go for functionality. So passive abilities increase, certain stats relating to guild members' abilities to perform in combat, as in other aspects of the guild, such as economy. Augments will be available at the upper tiers of guild progression. And some passive abilities are going to be like speedy harvest. So, You know, if you're in a guild that's focusing on functionality, you'll be able to maybe harvest faster. Or there's another one called relentless health regen. So you're going to have passive, health regen as one of the guild abilities or perks. I really can't wait to see what other things we're going to be able to do and unlock by being part of an active, progressing guild. My guild is totally going to be about functionality. I don't care about numbers. I want to have cool stuff. You know what I mean? And another really cool thing is if you do want size, for your guild, because hey, who doesn't want size? You'll be able to get that by something we'll talk about in a little more detail, by creating and joining alliances. Yes. So I want to read something before I go on to the next subject that Jeffrey Bard said. And Jeffrey Bard was is a lead game designer at Intrepid. So he said, it's not always going to be combat. You could have an economic focused guild, all about making money. You can have a trade oriented guild. And there's all sorts of things that you can kind of put together and kind of give your guild its own identity. Really, really awesome. So next topic, guild reputation. So guilds can allocate points to increase their reputation with that node that houses their guild hall. And as you increase your rep, the NPCs in that node will actually, interact with you differently and offer different quests and merchant services. So they didn't really go into great detail about that, but I'm thinking maybe like having a reputation vendor, maybe merchant services, meaning you can buy certain things once you reach a certain reputation with that, that node. And, we've seen this in other games, but this game's definitely going to have that as well. So pretty cool. Might be able to buy certain cosmetics or, maybe certain weapons or special armor that you can only get if you have a certain reputation level. So we'll see. I'm pretty excited about that. Another cool thing is the guild ladder. So from what I've read, it kind of sounds like a leaderboard for like an internal leaderboard just within your guild. So there's going to be, like I just said, internal guild ladder within the guild, like a ranking system that you're going to be able to climb based on member participation and, stats in guild wars, castle sieges, and my favorite, world bosses. So Mr. Sheriff himself said, as you climb your guild ladder, you will have bragging rights. Think of it as an inter-guild leaderboard. This is something I've never seen in a game, where you can actually have a leaderboard just for your specific guild, and like you're going to be able to see who's performing the best, who's contributing, who's not. And we'll talk a little bit more about this later on when we talk about different management tools and stuff that they're going to give us to help manage the guild. Mr. Sheriff himself actually said, when the guild participates in guild wars or they participate in sieges, you'll be able to climb the ranks of your inter-guild ladder as well, so you get bragging rights amongst your friends. So pretty cool idea. So another way that you're going to be able to kind of flex your guild is the patron guild system. So patron guilds are the guilds that contribute the most amount of work to the node from its members. And it unlocks the following benefits. So you're going to be able to get emblems that could be applied to guild armor and stuff like that. You can get participation in the node stock market, so you can make some money. You'll get the ability to participate in specific guild-based missions that will progress the guild's leveling and development. You're going to get allocation of guild points to unlock specific node abilities for guild members. You have the ability to claim an in-node guild hall, and the amount of patron guilds for a node is going to depend on the node stage. So I don't know if you watched my video or not on nodes. There's a bunch of information that's going to be a big part of the game. But nodes are basically just areas in the game that you're going to be able to change and progress. Like you can turn a town into a city into a metropolis. It's going to be pretty cool. So the amount of patron guilds, like I said, for a node depends on the stage. So the village is not going to have any patrons. The town can have one, cities can have two, and metropolis, which is basically like the last stage of a node, a huge, sprawling city, you can have 3 patron guilds. So those are going to be the top guilds that, like I said, are performing. I don't know if it's really going to be like a leaderboard, but something similar. So I briefly mentioned guild alliances before, so we're going to get a little bit deeper into that. So guild alliances, one of the cool things about this that I like is it's going to give you basically the ability to have, that big guild feel, when you can, at the same time, you can keep your members low enough so that you can have that functionality and those guild abilities and passives and stuff. So guild leaders are going to be able to create or join an alliance. And you're going to get this by completing quests and unlocking this feature. You're not going to get it right away. You have to reach that point, just like pretty much everything else. So you're going to be able to have 4 guilds max per alliance, and a guild can only be in one alliance. Guild leaders will be able, now this is really cool, they're going to be able to pool and share resources between guilds into an alliance bank. Now with that being said, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a guild bank as well, which is really cool. There's actually going to be alliance specific quest lines. You're going to have an alliance chat, you know, kind of like the faction chat in New World. There's going to be alliance gear to obtain. I mean, it keeps going. There will be, or alliances will play a pretty big role, like I said, and AOC will have specific content that revolves around alliances. And when I say AOC, I mean Ashes of Creation. And due to the lack of fast travel in the game, guilds will actually need to plan to have people in the right place at the right time, and alliances are going to, you know, help facilitate that. Now we're going to talk about some of the really cool things that they're going to give us, and that's leadership tools. Now the reason that they're going to have leadership tools, and I think this is so cool. So Steve Sheriff, Mr. Sheriff himself, has actually said that he's been the leader of very large guilds in the past, which really makes me excited because he knows what we need as guild leaders. He's actually a hardcore gamer at heart. I think that is so cool. So we're going to have some recruitment tools. We're going to have different management tools, delegation tools, you know, so that you'll be able to delegate different tasks and not just do everything yourself. I don't know what this means, but motivational systems. There's going to be communication tools, guild alerts, board messages, in-game chat. There's even going to be a guild calendar, and they're thinking about making a mobile app for the calendar so that you can see like when there's going to be upcoming wars, or, you know, like in New World or other games, you know, like maybe you're going to set aside certain days of the week where you do mutations. So you're going to actually have an in-game calendar and possibly an app for your phone. How freaking cool is that? There's going to be a guild roster where it's going to show you, you know, all the different guild ranks. You're going to be able to make custom rank names, a list of available permissions per rank and role, just, you know, like in most games. And there's going to be different departments within the guild structure. There's going to be audit logs, so, you know, for leaders and officers to check, where you can see just, you know, guild deposits, withdrawals, promotions, kicks, leaves. You're also going to have guild stats. Again, just the fact that Steve knows, you know, what it's like being a guild leader, and he's going to be implementing stuff that, you know, he personally would see as being helpful when it comes to managing a guild. So last section, then we're going to wrap up this video. I'm so sorry it's taken so long. There's just so much information, but I want to talk about guild wars. So Steve knows, and he wants to make it different, but he knows how most other MMO, you know, guild wars behave, and how they're very, what he said, binary, you know, meaning that you have a declaration, then you have a number of kills to deaths, and then bam, the war's over. Well, his objective is to change that dynamic and to include greater risks for the sides that initiate the war, and also to make it more like objective based than just a kill death ratio, you know, numbers game. And the fortresses and guild halls will help facilitate that change. So some guild war mechanics are going to include, you know, a declaration of period, objective based components, victory and surrender conditions. Guilds may war multiple guilds and alliances at the same time. And guild wars will operate outside the PvP flagging system. What he said is, we're taking guild politics to a whole new direction in regards to playing these conflicts out. So pretty exciting stuff. And that's going to be it, fellas and ladies. I hope you guys are excited as I am about this game. I get myself in trouble all the time for hyping up a game and then it being a disappointment. But this one, of course, this one's different, right? Well, hopefully it is. Hopefully nobody proves me wrong. Hopefully they don't prove me wrong. They prove me right. So get excited. I'm excited. Get hyped. This game sounds like it's just going to be amazing, and I hope everything works out. And I will continue to give you guys the most updated information I have. So if you want more information on this game, the development process, some of the great things it's going to have, make sure you tune in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you get notified when new videos pop out. Thank you guys all for watching. My name's Slender, and you guys all have a great day.